All right, listen up. We are live and I'm back. I've been gone for a little while. I've been a little bit busy, had work and other things going on. Been out of the trying to stay out of the limelight and listening to too much politics. So you know what that means? You're gonna get a lot of sports today. So welcome to Keep Talking 365. I'm Murph and I am the host of Keep Talking 365. And if you're just stumbling upon my YouTube page, I do a lot of sports. I'm very opinionated about a lot of stuff. When I say opinionated, I mean I have opinions, but it's worth the conversation. So if you go check out my YouTube page and you'll see the banner saying it's worth the conversation. You know, no topic is off limits when it comes to what I'd like to get across on this page I got here. So anyway, today we're going to be talking sports. Now, listen, every good podcast, every good sports show has a good monologue, right? So today's monologue, the New York Jets. So, my football team, I always think every year they go to all-time low. Every time the season is over and I think that it can't get any worse, it just does every single year. Now, you guys have heard my rant in the past, and I don't know if maybe, like you said, people are new to what I'm talking about. Is Joe Namath. Now, I hesitate to say that name because in Jets world, he's a hero to some, to most actually. A lot of people in my age group, maybe a little bit older. If you say Joe Namath's name, it's like you mentioned Jesus Christ himself. I'm of the ilk that the reason the Jets franchise is in such terrible, dire straits and has been so for as long as I could be a Jets fan. And I go all the way back to cognizant watching football, probably 1982 when AJ Dewey stole that football, stole that game, and smashed my dreams as a Jet fan. And I should have known back in 1982 that I was going to be setting myself up for, some sort of disappointment when it comes to my sports teams. But anyway, I do digress because I do have a rule in my house now. 1982 was my point where I decided to become a Jets fan. Okay, 10 years old. In my house, nephews, nieces, kids, whoever, if you're a follower of sports, you have to declare your team by the age of 10. My nephew Gaetano turned 10 this year. He's a Baltimore Ravens fan, loves Lamar Jackson. Got to give him credit for that. And he says he's a Mets fan, so he's not turning back now. So, anyway, that being said, my football team, present day 2025, is an absolute embarrassment. Now, I've gone on rants about how they've embarrassed us as fans in the past, and it's just the same old rhetoric after year after year after year. They just give us nothing to look forward to. Now, 2 years ago, we get Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame quarterback. We're all excited. Bang, he blows out everything in his ankle. He blows out his Achilles. He blows out everything 4 plays in. There we go. We actually won that game. Zach Wilson came in, and you guys do remember the Zach Wilson era, which all those eras kind of just blend into one because when you're a Jets fan like me, we've never had a viable quarterback. So that's why when the Jets went out there and acquired Hall of Fame quarterback, not yet, but will be the minute he retires and he'll waltz into the Hall of Fame, is Aaron Rodgers. So the excitement level of getting somebody like Aaron Rodgers on this football team exceeded excitement for any other player that we've gotten in a really, really long time. A la maybe Brett Favre. He kind of fucked us, but two Green Bay quarterbacks, two Hall of Famers, another one coming in here. Was it going to go right? I hoped it would, but it didn't. Blows everything out, 4 plays in, comes back the next year, kind of sort of gets things going about week 8 or 9. He's kind of getting to know the offense a little more, his wide receivers. He's kind of being a little more, leader type. Then we let him go. Aaron Rodgers is presently playing on the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he just put up 31 points in a loss to their current rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Flacco. Two old men hashing it out. But Aaron Rodgers that was here, Aaron Rodgers that should have stayed here, in my opinion. I don't know if that's a popular opinion among Jet fans, but I could tell you right now, I was not of the ilk of wanting to get rid of him. I would have tried to keep him for at least one more year. But they said, no, you got a new coach coming in, new coaching staff. Let's just chop everything off at the top, get rid of the quarterback, and try and build something new. Trying to build a new culture. So we knock on the door of the Detroit Lions and we say, Dan Campbell, we are going to take your defensive coordinator, ex-Jet Aaron Glenn, to run our football team. I guess, when you think about it, I kind of wanted somebody that maybe had a little more head coaching experience. But you know what? I guess this is going to have to do for now, right? So as I'm going forward, I'm looking, it's like, wow, this guy looks like he's going to run a pretty tight ship. This guy looks like he's got a little bit of FU in him. He looks like maybe he's going to delegate correctly. Maybe he's going to get somebody to run the offense, which he did. He brought his boy over from Detroit, who between me and you, week 8 coming up, looks completely lost. That was very evident with 1 minute and 21 seconds left before the half in last week's game against Denver, but we're going to go into that in a second. What I am trying to say here is I thought we had a leader at the helm of the head coach. Seems to be not the case. Now, our coach, Aaron Glenn, now I don't know if he's just kind of an awkward guy, like if he didn't think that it was going to go awry like it has, but this has gone completely awry. With week 8, there's no respect. There's a zero respect level when it comes to Aaron Glenn from the New York Jets. I know I'm picking on this game and I talk about it all the time, is that Tampa Bay game. They were 3 starting offensive linemen down, and there was 14 penalties recorded in the first half by the New York Jets. And I could go over numbers from a bunch of the other games, but I could tell you right now is they are a very heavily penalized football team. And that is on the coach. That is on the discipline. That is on, hey, look at me. I'm just going to jump off sides because I don't know what's going on. Maybe you didn't read the plays. Maybe you didn't go over anything. Maybe you don't go over anything with your quarterback. Because you know what, though? That's another thing. Our quarterback stinks. There's a reason why Pittsburgh says, you know what, though? You can go because we're bringing Aaron Rodgers. Little swappity swap. Look at Pittsburgh. They're 3-2 right now. Because you know what, though? They lost a pretty big divisional game the other night. We get into that for a couple minutes, too. But that football team right now is 3-2 with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. And we are 0-6 with Justin Fields. Now, during training camp, I know I put a lot of emphasis on this. People are like, you're crazy, but the kid hurt his toe and he dragged off the field like he was shot. This kid has zero toughness. He's fast. He's elusive. They talk about all his rushing yards, how he's got more rushing yards than Michael Vick. Now, I know nobody wants to hear Michael Vick's name out there. Listen, the guy did his time. It is what it is. But you cannot take away from the fact that the guy was a phenomenal athlete. The guy was an amazing athlete. Justin Fields just passed him as one of the, I guess, the most quarterback rushing yards with zero toughness. This kid can't throw a football. This kid can't find open receivers. We have one of the most electrifying wide receivers in the game of football right now in Garrett Wilson, and we are not utilizing this kid to his full potential with giving him people like Zach Wilson to throw him the football, with giving him people like Aaron Rodgers to throw him the football. Yes, that experiment should have gone longer, but no, we got rid of Aaron Rodgers because he was a headache. Maybe he talked a little too much shit. But you know what, though? I don't think the Jets would be 0-6 right now if Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. But no, we give Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields to throw him the football. Not working, guys. Who are the other wide receivers on this football team? I guess Lazard's still on this football team. We have nobody at the wide receiver position to even catch the football, let alone somebody to get it to them. So that's our offense right there in a nutshell. Our receiving part of our offense. Our rushing game is pretty good, okay? We're Brees Hall, Braylon Allen, he's injured right now, but Brees Hall looks okay. Maybe Brees Hall's kind of putting on a show maybe a couple weeks because they're thinking about trading him, which I think they should. No move right now for the New York Jets is out of pocket because any one of these guys at any moment could be cut or they could be just traded to another team. And even if you're trading for somebody and you know that you're coming to this football team that is in complete disarray right now, do you even want to come here? Do you even want to get a big name quarterback to come here or a big name receiver or known to be divas? Garrett Wilson last week was really one of the first times you ever seen him kind of like be like, yo, coach, what the fuck? So Aaron Glenn put his arm around Garrett Wilson at the end of halftime because you know what, though? Last week, halftime, with a minute and 21 seconds left in that Denver Broncos game, the Jets looked like a high school football team that had no clue what the hell was going on. The offensive coordinator looked on the field. Aaron Glenn looked at the quarterback. The quarterback looked at his receivers. They stood there. He touched his head, and they just completely let time run out to go into the half with not even an inkling of trying to score a touchdown. And I'm assuming that was Garrett Wilson's way of saying, "What are we doing as a football team right now?" And I'm talking to you right now, coach. Please give me an answer. And nice guy Aaron Glenn probably put his arm around him. He's like, "Let's go into the locker room. We'll talk about it in there." No, it was discussed in there? Nothing, because they went out again and lost the football game. There's a couple of these scores here in the last couple of weeks that are a little deceiving. The Jets scored a lot of points maybe in the fourth quarter of some of these games. But you know what, though? As a football team right now, as we are currently put together, the Jets are a non-competitive football team, and it starts at the head. You could throw the players out there. I could throw a couple things. They're dead last in passing yards. The rushing game, right? That's supposed to be our strong point. Yeah, they got 4 rushing touchdowns. That's supposed to be our strong point, right? They're dead last in receiving yards. They're dead last in average receiving yards. That's 9 yards per catch. They're dead last. And you know what, though? They have 0. That's right. 0 interceptions. They have 7 sacks. Now, comparatively, the team that they played last week as a team. Now, listen, the Denver Broncos have a really, really good defense, and the Giants are about to find that out today. But they have 30 sacks as a unit. The Jets have 7. They have no fumble recoveries. They have 7 fumbles, but no recoveries. There's no takeaways. Their defense is playing like a bunch of losers. I don't know if it's their defense looking at the offense saying, "What are we killing ourselves?" Because I think that was the case a couple of years ago when we had a decent defense that was supposed to be so good, and they just gave up because the offense just gave up. I guess they were tired. I don't know, but it's the game of football. You don't give up. The Jets are giving up. I've watched this football team year after year after year just give up. Now, we'll take all the shit from all the other fans because you know why? Because it's true. It's true. Our football team is a mess. Our ownership is a mess. Joe Namath, if he dies, maybe the Jets will have a shot because maybe there's some truth to the fact that he sold his soul to the devil and the Jets will never, ever win another championship ever again while that man's alive. I hold him personally responsible because I really do think that is what happened about, what was it, 52 years ago? Is that what we're looking at right now? 53 years ago, whatever it may be. It's a long time. And Joe Namath is still running around, still commenting about the Jets. And I know you have your Joe Namath lovers out there, but not me. He is personally responsible because there's no other reason or no other explanation that I have for a franchise sucking for so many years like this one does. And you could say that we've made the playoffs here and there, right? Our best showing was by a guy that was arrested a couple of weeks ago for trying to stab a teamster dropping off or picking up oil from the back of a bar after he was doing wind sprints because he was drunk. At this point in time, that is the quarterback that has taken us the furthest, other than Joe Namath, as a franchise to 2 AFC championships, which we lost. And I truly believe that if we had a half a decent quarterback for either one of those football teams, we would have won a Super Bowl. But no, we lacked, of course, at the quarterback position, that Joe Namath had a hand in. Call me crazy. If you look around the world today, there's a lot of crazy shit going on. So why not? Every year, that conspiracy theory in my head gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because you know what, though? There is evil out there, guys. And today is very, very evident that there's a lot of evil out there. But you know what, though? A long time ago, the devil could have been walking around more out in the open. There's no social media right now. There was no cameras. There's only Kodak cameras back there then. There was no phones. There was no instant gratification from social media. The devil could walk around maybe a little more freely and fluently and disrupt an NFL franchise. Maybe somebody pissed him off now because of all this stuff that's going on, being that football might be fixed. Maybe it's fixed for certain teams not to ever win. Maybe the devil is behind that. I don't know. Well, I'm just talking a little bit crazy right now because I'm very, very angry at my football team and I do not know what to do about it. Because Like I said to you guys before, in the Murphy household, as soon as you turn 10, if you're a sports fan, you have to declare who your favorite team is in your prospective for sports, or you're a fraud. And it seemed to work out pretty well. My son keeps telling me on a daily basis that the fact that I turned him into a Mets fan and a Jets fan, it's my fault. Well, it's all about being passionate about your teams. But the Jets, I don't know how I'm gonna handle this, but I really think that I'm gonna try to drift away from being a New York football Jets fan and just kind of drift into being just a football fan, just watching it. I'll never leave the Mets, even though I'm going to get into them at the end of this podcast about how they disappointed me again. And this year's disappointment was even bigger than last year's. And I'll tell you why about that. But the embarrassing fact and the embarrassing day and age of being a Jets fan is just growing and growing more and more. We use these football teams, we use these baseball teams, your prospective sport that you watch as an outlet from stuff that's going on around us in our daily lives. When you can't come home, or you can't sit back on a Sunday and either crack a beer, crack a soda, eat some wings, chill out with your boys, and watch a decent football team, even if they lose, at least show some heart. This team right now has no heart, no heart. And I think their heart lies in Satan himself, the devil. And when Joe Namath dies, that heart will be presented to him in the afterlife and says, we release this now. And maybe the Jets could win some goddamn football games. Because I can tell you right now, today, the North Carolina Panthers are going to have their way with their defense, and they're going to have their way with the offense. Bryce Young is going to look like Tom Brady today. Mark my words. Bet the house on the Panthers. So that's my opening monologue about my football team. I'm going to go over who I think is going to win these games and why. And there's a lot of good stuff going on in the NFL, believe it or not, but not in MetLife Stadium for the New York Jets. There's some good stuff going on the other team in the building, the New York Giants. Now, I know Giant fans, right now you got 2 wins, you're 2-4, you're riding high. Looks like you got a quarterback of the future. Now, there are days like this and times like this that I know my football team is not going to pick the right guy. Even when they do pick the right guy, it's going to go awry because they just don't know how to be a franchise. Giants, you got something to look forward to. You got a quarterback in Jackson Dart, and you got Cam Scatterbo. Now, right now, Cam Scatterbo is one of the most electrifying football players in the NFL right now. He's hits you. He's a running back right now that I don't know how long it's going to last because he's very tough. He hits you when he runs. He runs very hard. It's kind of hard for a running back to keep that up consistently. He might get hit. He might get hit really hard. He might get his bell rung. He might get a concussion. But for the time being right now, you guys have a beast at running back. That was very evident at the draft. And why he was picked in the 4th round is beyond me. He's a 2nd-round pick. But you know what, though? The Giants got him. And I think the Giants have their quarterback, too. Now, they took a big, big, big hurt in their offense when Malik Neighbors went down, being out for the season, because that kid is electric. Imagine having Jackson Dart growing this year with the Giants offense with Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterbo. Tyrone Tracy's not too bad either. They're trying to figure it out with the offensive line. They got a good tight end. That offense, which may not make the playoffs this year, may make a push because the NFC East, let's be honest with you, it's pretty much up in the air right now because there's really not much going on there. But let's be honest here. The New York Giants have 2 wins. And I think Washington's in first. I think that they got 4. Early in the season, Washington looks okay. Dallas, I don't know how they're winning football games, but they are. Their defense is terrible. Their offense is playing pretty well. Pickens has really picked it up over there and kind of like picked up the slack being that CeeDee Lamb is out. But could you imagine having Pickens and CeeDee Lamb in that offense? Well, I guess Dallas is playing pretty well too. Giants, the Eagles, are they really the Eagles right now? I don't know. Are they the Super Bowl champion Eagles? I don't know. Jalen Hurts might be getting exposed. Maybe the offensive line doesn't like him. Like Miami's offensive line, I don't think likes Tua anymore. And I think if you bet with the Miami Dolphins today, you might be throwing your money away because that offensive line is going to show that kid what the fuck is up when he talk about us. But I digress. I'm talking about the Giants. They're building a defensive line with their number one pick last year. They're building a secondary. They're building a culture. I know people talk about their coach. Their coach is like the quarterback whisperer. The coach was, Josh Allen's coach. But from the outside looking in, Dabo, you can go, man. If you don't hit and you don't make this quarterback the quarterback of the future for the Giants, and you fuck up in any way, shape, or form, this kid's young enough to regroup and restart because he's athletic and he's got balls, and he could regroup and he could reassess. Maybe have to maybe learn a new offense. But you know what, though, Dabo, I think you're on the hot seat this year. And I think if the Giants don't make a push or the Giants don't continue to show growth from their quarterback, this coach is going to be gone and somebody else is going to come in. I don't know who it's going to be. Giant fans, you could discuss that amongst yourselves. But as a New York Jets fan, I thought I had my coach. I really had to really think about that. And finally, when I said to myself, you know what, this guy might be it, fire this guy too. So Giant fans, you might like Dabo, you might dislike Dabo, but you know what, though? I think this year he is on the hot seat because you know what, though? You got too much firepower waiting on that Giants offense to be sitting back and just kind of like, maybe this is the guy, maybe it's not. Jackson Dart is the future of the New York Giants. The Jets are sitting on their hands and not doing a goddamn thing. What are we going to do? Get Arch Manning next year? I'm not all about that either because Jackson Dart's playing really well, and I'm sure the dream was for him to go to the Giants, but he might be out in the cold when you think about that as well. So that's how I feel about our two local football teams because our two local football teams are going in completely different directions. Jets are going one way, which they've been going for the rest of their lives, and the Giants have their ups and downs, ups and downs. They were on a little bit of a downturn, even though Daniel Jones is playing his ass off over there in Indianapolis. Giants are getting on an upturn right now. They got the tough running back. They got the flashy quarterback. They got a defense. And next year, possibly the best wide receiver in football will be back because they're not winning a Super Bowl this year. So the Giants got a lot to look forward in the future. The Jets are just sitting on their hands saying, what if, and why? Why? I really don't think that they give a shit. Let's go over some of these games today. All right. I put in a pool this week with my buddy Mike and see how that does. But right now, there's a football game going on between the Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, let's be honest here. The Jacksonville Jaguars are really keeping their heads above water because their defense is absolutely sticking it to other teams. Their defensive line is sacking the quarterback. They got a young secondary that's playing great. The Jacksonville defense is definitely winning football games for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their offense is playing okay. Brian Thomas Jr. finally getting into the game last week, finally catching some passes, finally making an impact. Got Trevor Lawrence, who's the guy that's just going to be almost there, but he's not. He is not the answer in Jacksonville. He might be a good quarterback. He might be, at the end of the day, somebody that's going to be with that franchise for 15 years and retire a Jacksonville Jaguar. But the kid's going to have no rings because I don't think that kid has any heart. He's a good athlete, but he does not have the will to win. Like, say, I don't know, who could you compare him to? Jacksonville had a different quarterback, but that kid is not the right quarterback for that team. If they had a better quarterback, maybe they could push further. But you know what? They don't, so they're gonna have to do with what they have now. They're 4-2, but I think Matthew Stafford with the Rams is the veteran in that group. He's got people to throw the football to. He's got a good running game. He's got an offensive line that's going to protect him. His defense is pretty good. And I actually picked the Rams in the beginning of the season as my sleeper team to get into the playoffs and possibly have Stafford right off to the sunset with another Super Bowl. But let's just say I said it a couple of weeks ago. My brain is still thinking about it, but I still think that they can win a Super Bowl this year. But today, I'm taking the Rams -3.5 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's 10 o'clock. The game's been off about a half hour. I don't know what's going on, but that is my prediction. The Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I just said before, the Philadelphia Eagles right now are not the Philadelphia Eagles that won that Super Bowl last year. Jalen Hurts looks a little bit like he's a little hesitant to throw the football. You got two wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith that are superstar wide receivers, but they're really not doing much. A.J. Brown seems to be a little unhappy. Devontae Smith's not getting the football. These two guys should be lighting it up right now. Jalen Hurts should be hitting these guys all over the field, but he's not. Are the rumors true? Does the offensive line dislike Jalen Hurts that bad? Is Jalen Hurts a good quarterback, or is Jalen Hurts just a product of a great offensive line? and a great offensive line that might be exposing that kid right now because they don't like him. Or could just be a fact that Jalen Hurts might be injured. Or what's up with Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley's pretty much a pedestrian running back this year. Not saying he's bad. He's having a good game here and there, but he's not the guy that was lighting shit up last year. Last year, the Giants were afraid to have that kid come back into their building. This year, it was like, oh, Saquon's here. You know why? Because the Giants beat him. So I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia right now. Minnesota is building. They're on the verge of something. You don't know what. They have an electric wide receiver. They have an electric running back. Their quarterback is We'll see. When JJ McCarthy comes back, he's supposed to be the future, and they really put a lot on this kid. And when he comes back, maybe he is the answer. But you know what? Today, I don't think so. But as 2 plus 2.5, I think it's going to be a close football game. The Eagles are not that good. The tush push is even getting stopped this day and age, and the tush push isn't even an automatic touchdown. Sorry, I'm fumbling my words a little bit here because I don't know who to pick. And I'm picking right now the Minnesota Vikings will go in their home turf. Philadelphia is going to come to Minnesota, and they're going to lose to the Minnesota Vikings. And the Eagles are going to be exposed again to losing to another team that they should have beat. The Raiders and the Chiefs. The Chiefs. Anybody see Dan Campbell's rant a couple of weeks ago? Maybe there's something to that. Why they have to wait a minute and something seconds? Is football fixed? Does the NFL want Pat Mahomes to win another Super Bowl? I'm so hesitant right now to think that football is fixed. I'm listening to all the conspiracy theories, which get more and more and more and more. It also took me a long time to get along that 9/11 conspiracy, but I'm all on that right now. So maybe football is fixed. Maybe it's going to take me 10 years to really get on that bandwagon. But for now, I like watching football. I like to think it's not fixed, but there might be something in what Dan Campbell said a couple of weeks ago about that sudden penalty that they got and the touchdown that was taken away and how long it took for the referees to bring them back to kick an extra point. I don't know, Dan. You, in my eyes, are probably the one of the best coaches in the NFL, and you have a big mouth and you have a lot of energy. So let's see. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's going to take another team. So if this is true and the NFL is fixing games for the Kansas City Chiefs, this is going to be the biggest blow up in the history of sports. Because not only it has nothing really even to do with gambling. It has to do with image and who they want to push to be the winner. And that's what it's all about, being in charge. If this is true, I don't know what I'm going to do as a fan. But for now, I'm going to have to put it to the side until somebody else calls them out for being cheaters and the NFL pushing the Chiefs to win. But today, as a football fan and as somebody that watches football, today is what they call a trap game. Plus 11.5. The Raiders in Las Vegas are going to Kansas City, where it's very hard to play. The Raiders are going to keep up with them. The Raiders may not beat them, but the Raiders are definitely going to cover. So the Raiders plus 11.5. I am taking the Las Vegas Raiders to give the Kansas City Chiefs a pain in the ass of a hard time today. And Chiefs, we're going to be watching you guys. Don't make any sudden changes or sudden moves or sudden whispers to any referees, because Dan Campbell put it out there, and America is listening, and America is watching right now. So you got to watch yourself there. Oh, by the way, Rashid Rice is coming back today. That could either go one way or another. That could be a big game for the kid, or Pat Mahomes might be pissed at him. Or maybe Andy Reeves is pissed at him. Maybe he thinks he's a little shit and he needs one of these games to say, you know what? We're just going to humble you a little bit. But Rashid Rice went on as a pretty damn good wide receiver. And Pat Mahomes utilizing him is probably going to put up some points. But I still think this is a game where the Vegas Raiders are going to stay and they're going to hang. And it's going to be a close game, but it's not going to be 11.5. So I am taking the Raiders today. The Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Tennessee Titans have the number one draft pick in Cam Ward, who's playing okay, who's having some rookie mistakes, who's having some rookie growing pains. On the other side of the ball, you got the Patriots. Now, the Patriots are coached by Vrabel. Now, Mike Vrabel used to coach the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel used to play for the Patriots. Mike Vrabel was a man in waiting to get this job with the New England Patriots. You could see it on the sidelines. He's got young talent. He's got young players that play for him. Unlike my coach and Aaron Glenn, these guys are playing right now for Mike Vrabel. Drake May, you're going to see 2-3 years. No way he's going to be Tom Brady. I'm not saying that. But you know what, though? He's going to be a viable option as a quarterback. He's going to be a viable top 10, maybe a little less than that quarterback. Maybe give him a receiver or two. He's got a good tight end. He's got a decent offensive line. His defense always looks hungry no matter what. Mike Vrabel running that football team right now and going against a rookie quarterback in Tennessee from an organization that he left. And from what I understand, he didn't leave on good terms with the Tennessee Titans. He's going to want to stick it to him. He's going to want to beat that rookie quarterback up. He's going to want to put up points a la Belichick. He's going to want to embarrass the Tennessee Titans. So today, Tennessee Titans plus 6.5. That's not enough because the Patriots are going to win by 2 touchdowns today. Drake May has another great performance. And let's say Hunter Henry has a couple of touchdowns. That'll be good for me because I have him in fantasy. So I'm taking the Patriots. Doesn't matter what the point spread is. They're going to win by 2 touchdowns. New Orleans against Chicago. Chicago has 2 wide receivers in Odunze and DJ Moore. 1 week Odunze has a good job. 1 week DJ Moore has a good game. Caleb Williams. I think the kid's a pussy, but maybe this guy is finding something in him because they played a good game last week against the Washington Redskins in a game that was pitted against number 1 and number 2. I think Jaden Daniels is number 1. Other people thought that Caleb Williams was number 1. But you know what, though? Both of those quarterbacks are young, and both of those quarterbacks are in control of their future. And I think Jaden Daniels might be a little bit further ahead in progress than Caleb Williams. But Caleb Williams showed something last week. If the kid would just stop bitching and being a baby and just listen to what's going on with his offensive line and listen to what's going on from his coach and his receivers and his teammates, Caleb Williams might have a shot to be a really good quarterback. But New Orleans, what is New Orleans right now? Alvin Kamara, maybe the reason he plays because he doesn't really know if he wants to play. Maybe he's like, he stubbed his toe in the middle of the night and says, you know what, though, I'm going back out there to get my ass kicked again. Alvin Kamara has been a consummate professional with that football franchise for a long time. They might be trading their number 1 wide receiver. They have a young quarterback who, I don't know, is he a good quarterback? Really, is his name Spencer Rattler? Maybe I don't know his name. Maybe I said it wrong, but that's how much I know about the New Orleans Saints right now because they always seem to be, after Drew Brees left, a team that's rebuilding. So New Orleans and Chicago today. I see this as a game that New Orleans could say, you know what, though, Chicago, we're going to play today. Maybe that Taysom Hill kid, maybe he's going to be all over the place today. Maybe he might play tight end because I know he's back. He's healthy. Maybe you put him in at quarterback. Maybe you switch it up a little bit. Maybe Olave doesn't want to leave. Maybe he wants to stay there. But you know what, though? The New Orleans Saints are setting themselves up for a win today. It's 4.5. The New Orleans Saints are underdog. They're getting 4.5. So I'm taking the New Orleans Saints with the points, but I think the New Orleans Saints are going to win the game outright today. Miami and Cleveland. This is a game that Cleveland defensive line has to be licking their chops. Now, I don't know how people feel about the fact that Tua just buried his entire football team, buried his offensive line, buried players. I don't know how this day and age, how this young generation takes that. I don't know if they're like ducks, it just rolls off of them. But there's a bunch of men on that offensive line that are probably a little pissed off at this kid. Now, how about we talk about Tua for a second? Now, Tua was hit a lot. Tua had concussions. Tua has concussions. Tua was knocked down in the same game 2 years ago and got up like he had cerebral palsy. His hands locked up, his eyes locked up, and the kid looked like he was going to die. He's still playing football. Could there be a level of CTE that makes this conversation a little bit easier to have and say maybe the kid's just going a little crazy? Maybe the level of concussions that he has, maybe he's altering his perception of football. But right now, you have a football team in the Miami Dolphins that they just said they're not trading Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's out for the season. He's not going anywhere. The Giants were licking their chops. Maybe they were going to sign Waddle. They're keeping Waddle. They have 2 running backs, a pissed off offensive line, a defense that's absolutely terrible. So the Miami Dolphins right now, I think, are not a good bet. That plus 2.5, that should be more. And I'm going to say it. Cleveland, play Shador Sanders. Play Shador Sanders. Let's go, Shador. Put this kid in. Let's give this kid a shot. Cleveland's not winning the Super Bowl this year. Cleveland's not getting into the playoffs this year. How about we give this kid a shot? Personally, I think that there's something to the fact that they're not playing him. They're going to give him a little bit of maybe a punishment because maybe something his father said or maybe something that he said. But it seems to be like the kid is being a consummate professional. He's not complaining. He's sitting on the sidelines. So you know what? Give the kid a shot. See what happens. Can't be any better what's going on in Cleveland right now because you have a guy on that defensive line who is ready to murder people, and that's all they got. Myles Garrett is a beast, but Myles Garrett can't intercept the football. Myles Garrett can't follow every single position on the field. Myles Garrett's job is to beat the shit out of the quarterback, and he's doing a great job. The rest of the defense has to follow suit and do their job, and they're not. But this game today is one of those games where the defensive line and Myles Garrett might sack Tua 10 times today. So, Cleveland, you're going to get a win today. And Miami, let this be the 1 week where you tell Tua that this is not the way you're going to talk shit about your players. So, you know what, though? The Cleveland Browns are -2.5, and I'll take the Cleveland Browns today over the Miami Dolphins because the Miami Dolphins football players are going to be pissed at their quarterback. Carolina and the Jets. Dowdle is going to go crazy. I'm going to say that again. Dowdle is going to go crazy. This kid right now is having a really, really good season. The Carolina Panthers have been a team that have been in the dark for so many years. They haven't had a good quarterback in a while. They haven't really had a good team in a while. They've always had the first pick. They've always had just terrible outcomes to their seasons. Last year, you saw a glimpse in the quarterback. This year, you've seen a little bit more. I think the Carolina Panthers today are going to beat the Jets by 3 touchdowns. Hope I'm wrong. I hope the Jets show a little fight today, which I don't think they are. If you heard the monologue, I don't think they're going to show any sort of fight. But what I do think is going to happen today is Carolina is going to march on and have another victory like they had last week, which is a little closer than I think the football game is going to be today. But they did beat the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys killed the Jets. And the Jets really aren't a professional football team right now. So look to Carolina to chalk up another win against a team from New Jersey, because I'm not even claiming them at New York right now, is not in good place right now. So feast, feast, feast on the New York Jets today, the Carolina Panthers. I'm taking the Panthers today. The Colts and the Chargers. Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert. Would you ever thought you'd be talking about those two quarterbacks in the same breath? Justin Herbert, up, 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 up. Daniel Jones, the lowly, never smiling quarterback over there with the Giants. Daniel Jones is with the Indianapolis Colts right now. He's got an offensive line that respects him. He's got receivers to throw the football to. He's got one of the best running backs behind him that could run the football. He's got respect. He's got an arm, and he's got a team behind him. Daniel Jones is a really good quarterback. Now, I never really had any opinions on him because, again, I'm not a Giant fan. I always thought it was crazy that he was a first-round draft pick. But you know what, though? He's kind of showing right now what he can be as a quarterback. Maybe a change of scenery. Maybe Dabo wasn't the right move for him. Maybe him and Dabo didn't get it wrong. But I'll tell you right now, he's playing really well in Indianapolis, and Indianapolis has something. They're playing against the Chargers, who, let's be honest, Harbaugh wants to win. Harbaugh has to do something with this football team because it's always what happened if the Chargers did this. What happens if this didn't happen to the Chargers? The Chargers have to be the Chargers that their fans have been wanting to see for a long time. Indianapolis. You got a team that's growing around the quarterback. Like I said, Daniel Jones. Pittman's having a good year. But you know what? The Chargers today are going to have too much firepower for that defense. And I think Daniel Jones is going to have a good game. But I think that 2.5 points at the Colts plus 2.5, I think that the Chargers are going to win by at least a touchdown. So I'm taking the Chargers over the Colts today, probably 21-17, let's call it. The Giants and the Broncos. I already talked about the Giants as being a very exciting football team. I talked about their quarterback. I talked about their running back. They have an explosive defensive line. They have decent linebackers. They have decent secondary. But the Broncos defense is going to be too much. The Broncos had a weird game last week. I don't know what they were thinking about with some of the stuff they were doing against the worst football team in the NFL. But this week they're playing the Giants. This week they're going to have a little bit of a what the hell happened to us last week. That defensive line has 30 sacks. They have 2 of the single best cornerbacks in football. Their linebackers are hungry. Vance Johnson's got that defense running on high octane energy. They're going to really be thinking about what they did last week and how they didn't perform against the Jets. And I think they're going to take it out on the Giants today. I think Jackson Dart's going to get beat up a little bit, but you know what, though? I think the kid needs it. And I think if he gets beat up a little bit today, and I think that's the outcome, I think they're going to lose. But you know what, though? It's okay because he's going to get up. He's going to come back next week, and he's going to win a football game. or he could surprise us today and he could pick up and put on his big boy shoes and have a big game today. That is what you need to do to beat this football team. This Broncos defense is going to be hungry and they're going to want to kick this kid's ass. So, Cam Scatterboot, you're going to do a lot of blocking today because it's going to be a lot of blitzing. But you know what, though? Let's let this kid make the passes and let him make the plays. Maybe he'll be growing pains or maybe he'll show some growth. But today, I think the Denver Broncos, coming off just beating the Jets last week, are going to really have their way with the New York Giants today. Though Scatterbo has a good game today, though Dart maybe he'll throw an interception or two, there's going to be growth today again from the New York Giants, but the Broncos win. Washington and Dallas. Jaden Daniels, love him. He was my pick in my fantasy draft. He was injured for 2 weeks, but I think he's back. This is going to be the week where he's back. It's going to be minus Debo, and that's huge because Debo is electric. But Jaden Daniels could do it from all sides of the football field. McLaurin's playing. He's got a good tight end. He's got a decent offensive line, 2 okay running backs. Dallas's defense is terrible. Micah Parsons gone. Dallas's defense is absolutely terrible, but they score points. Dak Prescott has Pickens as his number one now because CeeDee Lamb is hurt. But you know what, though? Pickens is playing like CeeDee Lamb right now. Couldn't even imagine the both of them when were in the lineup. But you know what, though? Whatever the over is on this football game, I would take it. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think Washington comes out on top by at least 3 points. It's Washington plus 1.5. I'm taking Washington plus 1.5, but I do think they're going to win by a field goal. Green Bay and Arizona. All you got to know about Green Bay right now is Josh Jacobs. 3 touchdowns last week. Arizona's defense is terrible. There's no Kyler Murray. Plus 7.5 with Arizona. Don't think that's enough. Jacobs, a big day. Jordan Love, a big day. This is going to be a game where Green Bay is going to put their stamp down, and Green Bay is going to be the team that says, we are the leader in this division, and nobody is beating us. They have to run away with this division right now. The Lions are playing good, but their defense is suspect. Green Bay's got a little bit of both. Green Bay has to keep winning because you know Detroit's going to keep winning, and right now they got a game on them. I think today's matchup between Green Bay and Arizona isn't even going to be close with the Kyler Murray-less and James Conner-less Arizona Cardinals. I think that the Green Bay Packers go on to kick their ass. Josh Jacobs, another 2 touchdowns. And let's get the wide receivers involved a little bit. One in particular. Let's throw the ball a little bit today, Jordan Love. And the Green Bay Packers are going to kick the shit out of the Arizona Cardinals today. Atlanta and San Francisco. Bijan is going to have a big day. McCaffrey is going to have a big day. Michael Penix Jr., love him. Think he's a quarterback of the future. Think he's going to be in that same breath of maybe top 10 one day. But for right now, they're going against the San Francisco defense that Bosa's not back yet. Franklin is playing at a high level, but the rest of the defense is a little suspect. Like the Jets, they have 0 interceptions. So Michael Penix has a couple of wide receivers he can get that football to, but Bijan Robinson is going to be all over the place. He's going to be catching passes. He's going to be running the ball. He's going to be showing why everybody thought he might have been one of the best running backs in football, but now why everybody is talking about him as possibly being one of the best running backs in football. Look for Atlanta to beat the San Francisco 49ers today at plus 2.5. But McCaffrey's going to have a big day because right now that's about all the San Francisco 49ers got is McCaffrey. And I do have him on my fantasy football team, so I'd like about 4 touchdowns. But Atlanta is going to score 5. So Atlanta wins this game at plus 2.5 today in San Francisco. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My ex-partner, E-Dubs, who doesn't talk to me anymore. Maybe I said something. Maybe he doesn't like the way I talk. Maybe he doesn't like the way I make fun of the Yankees or Yankee fans. Maybe he didn't like something I said on one of my political rants. But this is his football team. This is a football team that's 5-1 right now, who's been missing players left and right. They started out the first 2 weeks with 3 of the best offensive linemen in football being on the sidelines injured. Right. On the sidelines injured. Tampa Bay is playing and winning football games without Mike Evans, without Bucky Irving. Baker Mayfield is here. Baker Mayfield is here to stay. And he's showing you that whatever you give me, I'm just going to mix it up, put it in a salad. And that means that he's going to go out there and he's just going to win football games with what he's got. Mike Evans comes back today. They're also going up against a high-powered Detroit Lions offense that is going to be tested today by a Tampa Bay defense that's playing on a high level. But I think the Detroit Lions are going to have a little bit too much firepower for that defense. Bucks are plus 5.5 today with no Bucky Irving. I think they need him and Mike Evans to beat the Detroit Lions. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but the Detroit Lions are going to come out on top. and the Detroit Lions win this football game. Even with the Bucks getting 5.5, I'm still taking the Lions. Monday Night Football, Houston and Seattle. Seattle, they have one of the future best wide receivers in the game, I could say. They have a quarterback that sometimes gets it, sometimes doesn't. They have a decent defense. They got a good running back. Houston, what happened? They got a good defense, but what happened to that quarterback? What happened to that kid? He had a good first season. Now he's just pedestrian. So the fact that Houston is playing Seattle in Seattle on Monday Night Football, I think this is a game that Seattle Seahawks have written on it to put their stamp on, saying that they're still a contender to win a division. So I think the Seattle Seahawks defeat the Houston Texans by at least 10 points. The 3.5 point spread is not going to be enough for me to pick Houston. So I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football. That's the NFL picks for the week. And that's my NFL concerns. I told you a bunch of my concerns I have for my football team. I have some concerns about the Cleveland Browns that they should play their Shador Sanders. But you know what? Football is taking off today. It's football Sunday. And I'm actually heading over to Somers in a while to watch my two cousins, their prospective sons, play against each other at Somers High School, a football game that I'm looking forward to going to watch more than I'm watching my football team at 1 o'clock today. So I'll be at Somers High School checking out a football game between a bunch of kids rather than watch my football team. Penn State fired their head coach in college football news. Well, you could have saw that coming. Penn State supposedly has got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They had a kid that stayed back, which makes obviously these kids staying back right now a little bit easier when you tell them that they're going to make $6 to $7 million just by staying in college. But I think that kid took a bunch of steps back this year because of the coach. They went 3-3, fired their coach, and they're riding off into the sunset right now. And they're not going to do shit. There's rumblings of Nick Saban coming to the Penn State Nittany Lions. Does Nick Saban want to come to a college that's been known for one of the biggest and most disgusting and heinous trials to ever come to a college? The Sandusky School? Does Nick Saban want to come to try and save the legacy of one Joe Paterno? Does he want to come here and win a national title, win an eighth? Well, his wife seems to think so. His wife seems to think that he wants to come back and coach. And what better to come to? Happy Valley. They love their sports there. They love their football team. But they have a black eye in my eyes. Saban, if you're going to go back to any college and you're going to pick the Penn State Nittany Lions, no, they have that black eye, but you could completely change what's going on over there. You're a winner. You're one of the greatest coaches in coaching history of any sport. Anybody could go back there and win a national championship as you, but you have to start by changing perception as well. Because what happened at Penn State and what's happened at Ohio State now that you watch some of these documentaries today, and I'm sure has been happening through hundreds of years, but the Sandusky thing was absolutely heinous and disgusting and was put on full display. And Paterno, you're an embarrassment. So have Saban come in to save that college and save their legacy. I could see it. And he's probably the only one that could do it. So maybe we'll see, Penn State fans. Maybe Nick Saban comes back and maybe he tries to save the franchise. All right. Not the franchise, the college. All right. So I already talked about my Jets, how much they suck. Did my NFL picks, a little bit of my analysis. I want to get to a little bit of baseball. Now, baseball is not going to take up too much of our time because we have to go watch some football games today. But the World Series is about to happen. That's right. I said the World Series is about to happen. So tonight, you got a game 6 between Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto Blue Jays took care of business with beating the shit out of the Yankees. You know, I had to get that in, Yankee fans. Seattle went up 2-0. Toronto came right back, tied it up 2-2. The other night in Seattle, with my boy Mike from Seattle in attendance with his son, saw a 2-1 game turn to a tied up 2-2 game. Cal Raleigh hit a home run that almost hit the clouds and landed in left center field for a home run to tie the game 2-2. The place went crazy. Seattle Mariners fans are longing for a World Series. They're longing to be known as winners. Toronto, on the other hand, I remember watching this home run like it was yesterday because it's one of the greatest home runs in the history of the World Series. Watching Joe Carter hit that home run and the Toronto Blue Jays winning a World Series back in 1993. So these two teams are hungry to win a World Series. These two teams are probably not the two teams that Major League Baseball wants vying for a chance to go to the World Series, when we now know against the Dodgers. But you know what? This is baseball. This is what baseball playoffs are made of. Bottom of the eighth, bases loaded. Suarez comes up and hits a grand slam to make it 6-2. The place went nuts. Top of the ninth, 1-2-3. Seattle wins this baseball game 6-2. Seattle right now is up 3-2. Tonight in Toronto, tomorrow in Toronto, it could be a whole different ball game. Because as we know, Vladdy is playing like his dad right now, hitting everything that's thrown to him, hitting big home runs, talking junk. Vladdy's got it in him right now. Vladdy's got the bug. He wants to win a World Series. Does Cal Raleigh, the possible MVP of the league, want it just as bad? Julio Rodriguez, you've had a really good series as well. Do you want it? That pitching staff, do you want it? Seattle, you got to go in tonight to Toronto and take care of business tonight, because if it goes to a game 7, it's not happening. So for the Seattle Mariners, tonight is your night. Tonight is your night to go in there to Toronto and show them that you're the better team. Show them that, yeah, we've had tough teams in the past. We've had Ichiro. We've had A-Rod. We've had Randy Johnson. We've had Tino Martinez. We've had all these players, and you couldn't win a World Series. You had all these players through history. You had King Felix. A Seattle Mariner fan would know a lot more names than me, but you've had all these guys come through and could not win a World Series. If Cal Raleigh goes in there and helps the Seattle Mariners win a World Series, how do you not give him the MVP? Why are all these guys that were behind Judge in the MVP still playing? They are the most valuable players of their baseball team. Although Judge is the best player of the league, there are players out there that are more valuable to their baseball team. Or maybe not. Maybe Judge is the most valuable player, because without him, I don't even think they're in the playoffs. And that's right. I said it. So maybe you're right. Aaron Judge is the MVP of the league. But you got two guys out there in Cal Raleigh, Vlad Guerrero, that'll be going head-to-head tonight that would have loved to have that MVP trophy. But right now, you know what they're doing that Judge isn't doing? They're playing to go to the World Series. So tonight, Seattle, you got to take care of business tonight. Because in my opinion, in my observation, if you don't take care of business tonight, tomorrow night in Toronto, it's going to be all over. So Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, and the rest of that Seattle Mariners lineup, you got to bang, 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 and bang tonight. Do not go back to Toronto. Do not stay in Toronto tonight. Do not go back to the hotel. Get on a plane and get ready for the Dodgers. Because the other night, as everybody expected, the Dodgers swept the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, between you and me, I would have liked to see the Milwaukee Brewers beat the Dodgers, but we all know that wasn't going to happen. I'm realizing now that the Los Angeles Dodgers might have been playing a little bit of a game of possum, maybe kicking back a little bit, because they absolutely destroyed the Milwaukee Brewers. Tescano Hernandez, always hitting big home runs. Freddie Freeman playing a great field, getting hits. Mookie Betts hitting the baseball. They're pitching. Yamamoto pitched very well. They have the bullpen. They have the closer. They have the starters. They have the lineup 1 through 9. Anybody in that lineup. Ron Darling said the other night that Kiki Hernandez somehow turns into Keith Hernandez in the playoffs. Shout out to his boy Keith. Love it, Ron Darling. Keep doing that shit. Because Keith Hernandez, as we know, is one of the greatest hitters of all time and should be in the Hall of Fame. But Kiki Hernandez, yes, he does turn into Keith Hernandez in the playoffs. The Dodgers just have the knack to putting anybody in that lineup, and they're gonna perform. But nobody in the history of baseball performed better than one Shohei Ohtani the other night. You say what you want about the guy. You don't like him. You don't like it. He's bad for baseball because he's just wins all the time. Oh, he's always the MVP. What he did the other night with 10 strikeouts, pitched 6 and 2/3 innings, and 3 home runs to sweep the Milwaukee Brewers is the greatest baseball game a single human being has ever played in the playoffs. In a game 4, in a game 3, in a game 7, it doesn't matter. That man went out there and just absolutely did everything. 3 home runs, 10 strikeouts. Just look at the back of the baseball card, too. The guy is the best player on the planet, and he's from Japan. Maybe people that love baseball like I do think that somebody from Japan, it sucks that he's the best player. But let's be realistic, guys. Nobody on the planet right now is better than Shohei Ohtani. You could say Judge. Judge is a good player, but Judge is not going in there and striking out 10 in a game 4 to sweep and to go to the World Series. Aaron Judge is not doing that. Shohei Ohtani the other night should be applauded by everybody up and down baseball for doing what he did and in the way that he did it. The guy plays every position that he's asked to do, whether it be DH, whether it be pitch, whatever he needs to do, he goes in there and he does it. He's the best player on the planet. And for that, really doesn't matter who's going to go in and play the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series this year, because I got to be honest with you, just looking at the Dodgers right now and listening to what Dave Roberts said the other night. Dave Roberts, I want to get this right because Dave Roberts said something the other night that was pretty funny. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I have it written down here somewhere. Where do I have this written down? Dave Roberts, greatest Suarez. Dave Roberts said the other night, and I wish that I could find it. He made a comment the other night about there we go. Dave Roberts said 4 more wins till we really ruin baseball. Now, if you think that the Los Angeles Dodgers is out there ruining baseball, just say what Tom Brady said back in the day when everybody was getting pissed off with the Patriots. Instead of talking shit, just beat us. Last year, the Mets had that chance to beat them, and they didn't. The Yankees had that chance to beat them, and they didn't. So if you want to say that the Los Angeles Dodgers are out there ruining baseball, do I dislike the fact that they're there all the time? I could dislike it all I want. But everybody out there, everybody that roots for whatever prospective team that they root for, in the immortal words of Tom Brady, go out there and beat them. Because if you don't go out there and bring your A game, you are going to get swept in the World Series by a team that's hungry because people are telling them that they're ruining baseball. 21 years ago, Dave Roberts started what was to be one of the biggest comebacks in the history of baseball. Look it up. Look what Dave Roberts did. Dave Roberts is talking from the heart right now. Beat them. I don't like them. You don't like them. Not many people do. But just go out there and beat them and show them and tell them that they're not going to take over baseball, because right now they are the epitome of what baseball is all about. They just said this year alone, every single dollar that they paid for Shohei Ohtani's contract was made during this season. So whatever he does after this season, however many more World Series that he brings to this franchise, is all going to be profit. And they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank. So one of you guys, the Blue Jays, the Mariners, you're going to have a rough road ahead of you, but one of you guys needs to go out there and beat them. And that's just the bottom line. So that's what's going on in baseball right now. Now, I have this whole thing written down about how talking about my Mets and what I think they should do. And nobody wants to hear about the New York Mets right now. I'll do a special podcast on that. You could join me. I'll do a TikTok live maybe tonight and how I feel about the Mets. But at the end of the day, nobody cares about the New York Mets right now. Only thing in baseball going on is what's going to happen in the World Series and the offseason. I am going to make one thing very, very clear, though, from a Mets perspective. I want two things to happen, maybe possibly three. Let's make it three things. Three things happening. Not in any order, not in the order of what I want more, of what I want least. All three of these things need to happen. A, figure out Pete Alonso's contract. Figure it out, give him what he wants, and put him at first base for at least another 10 years. B, Skubal. Go get him. Nobody's off limits. Nobody. Possibly Nolan McLean off limits, but nobody is off limits. Apparently, the Detroit Tigers are $250 million away from signing a contract. That means he's not going to be playing for the Detroit Lions anymore. So the Mets got to go out there and get Skubal by any means necessary. Now, this third one might ruffle some Yankee fans' feathers a little bit, but a certain player over in the Bronx has opted out of his contract too. Steve Cohen, give Cody Bellinger whatever the hell he wants and stick him in center field for the next 10 years, 7 years maybe, 7 to 10 years. You got the money. There might be a shutdown next year because they're going to be talking about salary caps in baseball. If they're adamant about a salary cap, there's going to be no baseball next year, guys. I repeat, if there is a salary cap next year, there will be no baseball next year. But if we could manage to work something out where the greedy players and the greedy owners, more the greedy owners, then there'll be baseball. Then you go out there, Mr. Cohen, and you offer Cody Bellinger anything he wants. Cody Bellinger, 7 years, 150, maybe. Give it to him. Put him in center field, and we DFA'd Siri. Cedric Mullins sucks. He could get on the next train to wherever. And let's sign Cody Bellinger to play center field. Let's keep Pete at first, and let's get Skubal. Who knows? I'm not saying that's the recipe for a championship because no one really knows what it is these days. Obviously, we got to follow whatever recipe that the Los Angeles Dodgers are following. But I can tell you one thing. Those are three things that the New York Mets need to do in the offseason. That's it. Nothing more, nothing left. And nobody, except Nolan McLean, is out of the realm of possibility to be gone. The entire pitching staff should be gone except for Diaz. All the relievers, all the starters. I don't care who stays. I don't care who goes. Start from scratch. Let's build on three young arms and just go from there. But the Mets really disappointed me this year. And the reason why they really disappointed me this year is because last year's disappointment wasn't so bad because I didn't think that team was going to make the NLCS, but they did. The build up, and the excitement, and then the crash felt like big disappointment. But at the end of the day, nothing set us up for the disappointment that we had as Met fans this year, watching that team wither in the last couple of weeks. A team in the beginning of the year that we thought possibly went to the NLCS last year and could win a World Series this year, went from watching the playoffs and just watching another year go by of shoulda, woulda, coulda from the Met fans and the Mets franchise. Carlos Mendoza, you got a new bench coach. Kai Correa, don't know much about him. Lucky you still have a job. The entire pitching staff's gone. Everybody's gone. So, Cohen, I know you came out with your apology a couple weeks ago. That means nothing. You shouldn't have done it. But you know what, though? You're going to get that gaming license. You're going to get that casino license. My son had a great idea. Call it Metropolis. I'm going to talk about that in another podcast. But you know what, though? The Mets are building something over there. There's going to be casinos, hotels, and a beautiful green area and all sorts of good stuff. There's going to be a soccer stadium. It's going to be a baseball stadium, numerous hotels, a casino. And hey, who knows? Why not bring the New York Jets over there too? All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. This is Murph from Keep Talking 365. And if you guys are hearing me and haven't subscribed yet, just hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, guys, because I'm just looking to get the word out there and I'm just looking to keep talking. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk to you guys later.